What's going on, everybody? Noah from Stage 3 Motorsports here, and yes, it finally happened. We got our hands on a brand new Bronco. As you can tell by the scenery around me, I am definitely not in Arizona right now, which is normally where I reside. But in order to pick up this Bronco, we really had a fight on our hands. These things are in short supply, to say the least. We were able to lock one down. It ended up getting delivered in Utah here to one of our other warehouses. So I flew up here. I'm gonna drive it back to Arizona. This is obviously just gonna be a little bit more of an impromptu vlog and not so much an actual review, but I'll give you some first impressions. And then after I've had this trip and we've got a chance to go take it out and I've got the camera guys with me, then we'll do something that's a little bit more official and really walks through all the details of this truck. Okay, and just like that, the sun has disappeared behind the mountains and the lighting's completely changed, but I know you guys want to know what kind of Bronco we got. So it's pretty obvious looking at it from the side here. This is a 4-door soft top, and it is the black diamond trim, which is one of the more practical trim packages you can get on these trucks. It isn't Sasquatch or anything like that, so there's no 35s or anything from factory, which I do like that upgrade. I think it's really cool, but this is obviously a bit more affordable and a little bit more reasonable. I think trucks like this are going to be what most of you guys have ordered. The thing that's really special about this that we weren't initially planning to get in a Bronco, but we got with this one, is that it is the 3-pedal flavor, which means that this thing has the 7-speed manual, or really more of a 6-speed with that crawler gear or a granny gear for those of you old school guys, but makes it really, really fun to drive. I'll tell you that much. Obviously, because it's a manual, it only comes with the 2.3 liter, which is the little turbocharged 4-cylinder EcoBoost engine. And I've grown to really like this motor in the Ranger. So it's certainly more than enough to move this truck around. When I first got here, I was thinking that I would start shooting right away while the light was still good and try and lock everything in. But when you're handed the keys to a brand new Bronco and it's really good weather out, there's no reason not to skip on the camera work, to put the top back, roll the windows down, and just go drive it. So that's really what I've been doing for the last couple hours. With that out of the way, I'll talk a little bit more about this, obviously, once we're back on the road and I've made a little bit more progress, but I figured this would be a good place to start. Good morning, everybody. It is the following day, and I've already made my rounds this morning. Ran over to 7-Eleven, filled up on gas, and got some of the road trip essentials, you know, water, coffee, and a bag of Cheetos, because I'm actually a 6-year-old. But now that that's covered, I put a little bit of time in on the freeway, and I figured I would just check in real quick. Obviously, the main goal here is still to head south through Utah to get to Arizona. So we're gonna aim that direction, probably knock out another 3 hours of driving or so, and you guys are going to see a lot of GoPro footage and probably a lot of time-lapse stuff, which I'm sorry, if we're able to find some trails or something along the way or some forest roads to get back on, then see if we can show this thing off a little bit. So I will check back in with you guys in just a little while. All right, I'm about 45 minutes out from Bryce Canyon, the actual park that is, and I noticed some BLM land off to the side here that's open, has some forest roads, so I figured I would pull off, jump in the dirt, just get a little bit of a feel for the Bronco and how it handles off-road. And this is by no means extreme off-roading or pushing the limits of this truck. I know people are going to comment and ask, why didn't you take it to Moab? Why didn't you use all the goat modes? Why didn't you take it off any sweet jumps? I know, but keep in mind, we do have a full off-road review planned on this truck where I'll go way more in depth and actually try out all the features, and we'll really push this thing to its limit. So I did get it out there. I did put it in 4-wheel drive, played around, got it into 4-low, and it drives really, really nice. Like you'd expect, it's a very capable package right out of the box. I mean, this is going to get you pretty much anywhere you need to go. Obviously, there's a lot of room for improvement too, because it's still not running a very big tire and it doesn't sit very high off the ground. So I did notice a few areas where ground clearance was a little bit of an issue, or it could catch on certain rocks and things like that. And these tires, I believe, are only a 31 or a 32. They're a Grabber ATX, so it's still a good little tire and it gets the job done. I will say though that the really impressive part has been going out and wheeling it a little bit with this manual transmission. I really like that it's got that granny gear in there, and having it in 4-low with the granny gear and the rear end locked up, you really can just crawl. And I think it's going to be a big plus for using this thing on more technical trails. So it's also worth mentioning that obviously you guys saw a lot of highway driving to get to this point, and I do want to talk about kind of quick first impressions on how this truck feels on the highway, but I'm going to do that after I go check out the park, get some photos, hopefully find lunch too. With all that being said, I'm going to head out and I will talk to you guys in a little bit. Well, you probably won't be surprised to hear that Bryce Canyon was fantastic. It's one of those national parks that I'd been meaning to get around to visiting and just hadn't made the time. Now, I did also mention earlier that I was going to give you guys some of my first impressions and talk about highway driving this thing. So, long story short, this truck is a real pleasure on the road, and I will say that obviously there's the caveat of this is a really nice truck on the highway for a vehicle that has removable doors and a soft top and is designed to be a small off-road SUV. Clearly, it's not going to be as comfortable and cush as a brand new Cadillac, but I think for what it is, it's excellent, and the on-road comfort is more than acceptable. A couple things that really stuck out to me were, first off, the seats. They're vinyl, which I typically am not a huge fan of. I prefer cloth, but in this case, the vinyl makes sense because you're supposed to be able to clean it and wipe it down. I do think that the vinyl colors look really nice. The actual bolstering and the foam in the seats is great. The sync screen with Apple CarPlay, I think that works great, and I've raved about this multiple times, but also that there's physical buttons and dials, which are far better than a touchscreen in my opinion, especially for an off-road vehicle. And then finally, on the road, I think it's really easy to drive. This is going to be really approachable, even if you haven't spent a lot of time in a car that's stick. The clutch is pretty light, and some folks may not like that. It doesn't necessarily feel very truckish, and even the way it shifts almost feels a little bit more like a car, in my opinion. And maybe that has to do with the fact that most of the stick shift vehicles I drive have been very old Jeeps and old Toyotas and stuff, so they're a lot more clunky and a lot more rugged, but this thing shifts perfectly smooth. It's got a nice kind of notchy click to it, so you know you're in gear, and the throw is decently short, so you're also not making huge swings as you're rowing through the gears, and all of that kind of comes together to make for a really simple on-road driving experience. And this little EcoBoost engine does a good job of getting you around and overtaking people when you need to, so you can always drop a gear, get into boost, pass somebody, slide right back in, and it's no fuss. With all that being said, I am sitting here watching as the sun is disappearing and is basically completely gone at this point. So I need to get back to the hotel. I'm going to clean up, and then tomorrow I'm just going to bomb it straight home. Okay, it's day 3. I've got 5.5 more hours to go before I'm home, so time to knock out some highway miles. it is good to be home. And I know this was a long video, but I appreciate it if you guys stuck it out to the end. And also make sure you drop a comment down below and let me know if you have a Bronco on order, what you ordered, and if you actually received your Bronco already. Let me know what you love about it or what you hate about it. I want to hear it all. And as always, thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you next time.